Are you confused about how to do the clear liquid diet after you've had weight loss surgery? Are you afraid you're going to mess it up? Hi there, my name is Diana Lopez. I am your bariatric dietitian here at My Bariatric Adventure, the place where we guide you as you navigate the twists and turns of your bariatric adventure. Today, in this video, we are going to dive in and talk about that post-op clear liquid diet to give you all the ins and outs of that so you can feel confident that you're starting your bariatric adventure on the right foot. And hey, if you stick around after we talk about the clear liquid diet, I'm going to give you 5 extra tips to keep you on track right from the very start. And at the very end, I will give you a freebie that you can download and take with you so that you are successful after your weight loss surgery. So let's go ahead and get started. In the first few days after surgery, your belly is going to need time to heal. So your surgeon likely is going to give you a clear liquid diet to follow for a few days. And just a few words about that clear liquid diet and what other people are doing before we jump in. It's not uncommon for different surgeons and different practices to recommend different things for their pre and post-op diet stages. So if you have family or friends that have had surgery with a different surgeon, or you're following someone, their weight loss surgery journey on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, anywhere like that, you might find that when they start their diets after surgery, it looks different than what you do. So don't get confused by that. Just follow what your surgeon tells you. So normally the clear liquid diet, they'll have you follow it anywhere between 2 to 7 days after surgery. So like I said, each surgeon is different with that. You just follow what your surgeon has told you to do. So let's talk about what is a clear liquid diet. So clear liquid diet is basically any liquid that you can pour in a glass and you can kind of see through it. I've got an example here. So I've poured a little bit of blue food coloring in this glass. You can see, you can't like totally see through it, but you can kind of see through it a little bit. You know, another example of that, I've got my water bottle. Of course, we can see through water, but if you have like lemonade or something like that, you can kind of see through it versus something that is a milky consistency. So if you're doing something that's milky, that's not considered a clear liquid. So I'll give you some examples. So clear liquid, first, it should be calorie-free, caffeine-free, non-carbonated. So that would be things like Crystal Light. It could be like the little drops, like meal drops, or any of like the flavored drops you'd put in your water that are sugar-free. It could be any kind of powder that you'd pour in a water bottle that's sugar-free. It could be sugar-free Kool-Aid. It could be a sugar-free sports drink like Propel, Gatorade, Powerade, Zeros. It could also be broth. So whether you buy broth pre-made or you make it at home yourself, doesn't matter if it has herbs and spices in there, that's fine as well, but just simply a broth. Sugar-free popsicles, sugar-free Jello. If you're doing coffee, it goes to decaf. If you're doing teas, it should be sugar-free, decaf, or herbal. So those are kind of the basic liquids. It's nothing too fancy, nothing too exciting, just to get something in you to help keep you hydrated and help your body prepare and heal for the next stages when you start to add back in maybe thicker liquids or soft foods and that sort of thing. So it really is intended to give your belly time to heal. So you may have a couple questions. You might be asking, why no caffeine? So no caffeine for a couple reasons. One, caffeine tends to dehydrate us. So if you are drinking caffeine after you have surgery, it may actually be flushing out some of the fluids that you're drinking. Other reasons is that caffeine can actually really irritate your stomach lining, and it can really make your stomach upset. For some people, it can cause things like diarrhea, which we're trying to keep you hydrated. So if you're having diarrhea, you're getting less hydrated, you're being less hydrated. It can cause reflux. It can also cause ulcers, and it can delay your healing. So I've had some people that early on, maybe they start coffee a little bit too early and they start to have some problems with their stomach not feeling right. I've had a couple people that have actually developed some ulcers and had to have medication for that, and that kind of sets back your progress. So we don't want you to do that. Hold off on doing coffees and other things that have caffeine at this point. The other thing you might be asking is why no carbonation? So no carbonation because when you drink things that have bubbles or carbonation in it, when it gets in your stomach, it will expand and it will make you incredibly uncomfortable. So whether you're doing fizzy waters, diet sodas, anything that has carbonation in it, it will probably, at least in the very, very beginning stages, make you very uncomfortable. So we want you to stay away from that carbonated stuff. Okay, so clear liquid diet, what I've seen working with people, most people aren't hungry or thirsty. You might find that you need to set some sort of a timer to make sure that you are drinking according to the schedule that your surgeon's office has given you. Some surgeons may give you a specific schedule, like they want you to drink 6 to 8 ounces of fluid in an hour. So what they, like in the practice I work at, what they'll tell you is the first day or two, you're drinking an ounce of fluid every 15 minutes while you're awake. So I have my little medicine cup here. They may give you a sleeve of these when you leave the hospital. That's 1 ounce. Or if you have a bottle of cough syrup like a NyQuil, it has that little cup on the top. That little cup might be 1 or 2 ounces. So you can see where that's at. So what my doctors will do is they'll say the first 1 or 2 days after surgery, you're drinking an ounce of fluid every 15 minutes. Days 3 and 4, they actually bump you up to 2 ounces every 15 minutes while awake. And then when you get to days 5 through 7, they have you at 3 ounces every 15 to 20 minutes because they know it'll take a little bit more time to drink that. So the reason that they do that is they want you to get back in the practice of drinking, even though we know that you're probably not thirsty, you're probably not hungry. The number one concern for us is that you don't become dehydrated. So dehydration is one of the top reasons that people are readmitted to the hospital after weight loss surgery, and for the majority of us, it's a preventable thing. So we want to make sure you're getting all the fluid not to become dehydrated. So how do you know if you're dehydrated? So there are certain things that you can look for. So if you start to feel lightheaded and dizzy, if you're nauseated, if you're going to the bathroom and your pee is really dark in color, or if you're not peeing very often, if you are feeling really tired, if your mouth is really dry, those may be indications that you're getting a little bit dehydrated. One of the tests that we'll often tell people to do is to take the back of their hand and pinch the skin on the back of their hand. If that skin on the back of their hand stays tented up or it goes down slowly, that's usually an indication that you're not well hydrated. So for me, when I do that, it pretty much goes immediately back. So I'm pretty well hydrated. So that's one thing that you can do. And the other thing I'll tell you about these signs and symptoms of dehydration, so if you have certain medical conditions and you're taking medications that make your mouth dry, that may not be an indication for you. Or, I have a thyroid condition, and a lot of times I just feel kind of tired. So for me, that may not be an indication, but for you, that may be a new symptom. Like you maybe have never in your life had dry mouth, and all of a sudden your mouth is really dry. All of a sudden you're feeling really tired. That could be an indication that you're dehydrated. So start looking at how much fluid you're drinking and try to bump that up a little bit. All right, so we've talked about the basics of that clear liquid diet. We've talked about things that you should be looking out for, like dehydration and staying well hydrated. And I promised you I was going to give you some extra tips. Get your pens ready. Here they are. So tip number one I have for you is to keep a log. So whether it's pen and paper and you're kind of doing that chicken scratch thing, every time you drink an ounce of fluid, you're doing a chicken scratch. You can do that. You could do it in the notepad in your phone. Just every time you drink an ounce of fluid, you could put, a 1 in there, or put an I in there, or you could go 1, 2, 3, 4 and count them out. Whatever works for you. Or you can use an app like Daily Water. Download that and have that, put it in there every time you drink. Or if you're already using a food tracker like Baritastic, BARI, like bariatric surgery, not berry that we eat. Or if you're using MyFitnessPal, Lose It, any of those apps, you can track your water, your fluid intake in there as well. So that would be my first tip for you. Make sure you're keeping a log to make sure you're staying on track. Tip number 2 for you is to sip slowly. Don't gulp, don't chug. When you're drinking this, don't drink it as a shot, right? Think of the ladies drinking their tea. Sip, 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 pinky out, sip, sip, sip. That's what we want you to do with this. Sip nice and slow. So this is the beginning of retraining your brain. So we don't want you to just, grab your water bottle and chug it, because you'll probably get 1 or 2 chugs in there and it will really hurt because you're gulping down some air with that, right? And then tip number 3 that I have for you has to do with straws. So you may or may not be able to use a straw. So years and years ago, we used to tell people absolutely never, ever, ever use straws. We don't tell people that anymore. So what we found is that when people use straws, if they're used to having a straw in their liquid, they may end up drinking more liquid. So a word of caution with that is, if you try a straw and you feel gas pain and it hurts for you, then it probably isn't a good thing for you. So then I would say forego the straw. Maybe try it again a few months down the road and see if that works for you. But if you don't experience that, then you may very well be able to use a straw, no problem at all. Okay, so that's tip number 3. Tip number 4 has to do with getting your fluid in and getting some movement in. Usually when you get discharged from the hospital, they will tell you that they want you to get up and move around. Maybe they'll tell you they want you to walk around for 15 minutes over every hour. One of my clients, she did a great thing. She took her little medicine cups that she had and she lined up 4 of them. So she knew she had to drink 4 in an hour. So she filled them up. She set them on her kitchen counter. She went back and sat on the couch and set her timer to go off every 15 minutes from the time she was awake to when she went to bed those first few days, first week at home. And every time the timer would go off, she would get up from the couch, she would walk into the kitchen, stand at the counter, she would slowly sip her 1 ounce of liquid, set that down, and then she would walk back down, sit on the couch again, and she kept doing that all day long to make sure she was getting up and getting movement in as well throughout the day. So that's my tip number 4 for you. And then tip number 5, if you start to feel hungry, what I would encourage you to do is go back to that tip number 1, start recording and tracking your fluid intake, because if you're getting hungry, you may very well be getting dehydrated, and it may be giving you that sensation that you need to eat something. I'll oftentimes get frantic calls or texts from people. I'm 3 days out from surgery. Oh my gosh, I'm starving. What do I need to do? We start having that back and forth conversation. How much fluid have you taken in? How much liquid have you drank? And what we found is that oftentimes they've not drank enough fluid. Once they get their fluid intake up, they find that that sensation of hunger diminishes or goes away, becomes much more manageable. So we don't want you to get dehydrated. Remember, that's this clear liquid diet. The most important thing you can do is keep yourself hydrated. All right. So those are my extra tips that I have for you. I hope that I've given you a better understanding of this clear liquid diet. It shouldn't be anything complicated. It should be pretty simple for you. So, and with those extra tips, hopefully that will help you along the way. And I also promised you before I go that I would give you a freebie. So in our description below, you will see our top 5 strategies for success after weight loss surgery. So make sure you grab that, get yourself started off on the right foot. If you want to know more about what we are doing, we are at mybariatricadventure.com. We've got a course there. I do a blog every week. We've got all sorts of stuff happening there. So make sure you get there and check us out. If you're looking for more help with life after weight loss surgery, please subscribe so that when our new videos get uploaded, you will get notified of that. And if this video was helpful to you, please like it so it gets pushed out to more people as they're looking for help on their clear liquid diet after surgery. All right, you take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye.